All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is May 17th. It is Friday here in La Jolla, and it is cloudy outside.
Golf day at noon.
Yeah, May gray is in full effect. Though.
First time in 18 months, baby. We're going to go spank the ball and see how the back's doing. Yeah. Going to Mission Bay. Just play the little
that's a par 3 course, isn't it?
You don't use anything but a 7 or 8 iron, really.
Okay. So well, that'd be all right. That's a good way to get out. I thought you were going to go to Torrey Pine.
Oh, shit. I'm not ready for that. I had 2 back operations. I got to work up to that.
We're going out with the big times. Okay.
But I'll be there.
Take your medical card with you, just in case.
Jeez. All right. Well, that's cool. That's what you got going on.
I'm following the can't get up button.
Yeah. Oh, you're going with him?
No.
He's
not going with him.
He's a pussy.
All right. That's fine.
I will not participate in watching him go down.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, welcome to the San Diego Real Estate Show. We are here. Good information for you today. We're going to talk about our market update, as always. We're also going to talk about what we do at the Nunn Real Estate team and our sort of 5-step plan that we have created for whether you're buying or selling. And this can be a good option and sort of training episode, I think you could say, for new agents or agents transferring to EXP or anyone interested in joining the Nunn Real Estate team or EXP in general. We have information in the description below. Go ahead and reach out to us if that's something that you're interested in. And without further ado, let's get into it. Cody, we're going to skip over the market update. We're going to hold off. We'll give you a chance to finish your notes there. And we'll start with our main conversation of the day. And we'll have a couple interesting points in there that I'm going to talk about as well, sort of some of the big things that people want to know when they're looking to buy or sell. Kind of something on both sides, something about taxes and down payments are some of the bigger questions that we tend to get. So, Jeff, why don't you introduce us to the 5-point conversation, and we'll
all right.
from there.
Well, look, I've been at this a while, and I've watched agents put homes on the market for years. And sadly, most of them have been put on incorrectly. And I want to look at this as, the 5 steps that I've come up with. Number 1 is what's called a personal home assessment versus just an agent coming out to take a look at it and maybe taking a few notes. We're going to take a deep dive into that today. But the other points are that we will hit in future podcasts is going to be step 2, which is a pricing strategy or an x-ray of the market. What exactly do we have here is the purpose of number 1. The purpose of number 2 is once we know what we have, how are we going to price it? Number 3, we're going to do some marketing, talking about how we launch a home versus just putting it into MLS. I think we all know that, when you launch a rocket and it doesn't go well, that nothing good is going to come of that. And we don't want that to happen when we launch a home into the market. We want to make sure our sellers are ready and the information is available to the buyers so they can get their questions answered before they open escrow. Typically, they get all the information on a home after they open escrow, which is stupid because you have the seller property questionnaire, which is about 4 pages of questions. How could you price a home or assess a home without having that information up front? So what we do at the Nunn Realty Group is let's just focus on the personal home assessment. And I want to look at this through the eyes of what the automobile industry did years ago. Who buys a used car today? That's the question. Anybody? Bueller? Who buys a used car today?
People who can't afford a new car.
People who can't afford a new car. So what did the automobile industry do years ago? What are people buying now instead of a certified pre-owned? Listen, the automobile industry
sounds a lot better than used.
It does. And here's the thing. The automobile industry figured out that if they would armor all the dashboard, vacuum the back seat, take the jack-in-the-box bags and hamburgers out of there, put some wiper blades on the car, and do the 6,452 point check on the car, man, they were selling faster and for more money because the buyer felt, wow, I'm buying a good product. It's been checked out, it's been investigated, they've done this, and so yes, I'm willing to pay more for that car. And you put that side by side with a used car that hasn't had that, which one's going to sell first? The first one, the one that's been
in most cases
inspected, absolutely. Yeah. And the same is true for cars. But the point is, there's so much information that agents don't collect before they put the house on the market, much less price the home. So we as agents have a responsibility in California. We have to do an agent visual inspection disclosure.
I just did one last week.
That's 3 pages of information that we are required to write down and provide to a prospective buyer to let them know that we've seen the home, because these are products that we're selling, right? Now, how many agents know about the mechanical condition of the home?
Yeah, well, hold on. There's something funny about that.
What?
There are 2 biggest things on a house, right? You have an HVAC system, correct?
Yep.
And so many times we get into a circumstance where the agent on the other side that's listing the property has no clue what the age of that is.
Right.
That should be something known.
Right.
Yourself, I mean, that's huge.
Well, what happens is, the buyers, I believe, when you're buying $1 million, $2 million yen, or a $3, $4, $5 million home, what's the point of going into escrow when you don't know much about the house?
Right.
When that information is readily available and it has to be disclosed anyway, they're just disclosing it too late. I mean, when you have a cancellation rate of escrows that's 20 to 30%,
Yeah.
okay, that tells me there's a disconnect between what sellers are doing and willing to do and what buyers need in order for them to be comfortable making a decision and staying in a transaction.
And it goes beyond just the mechanics of the house. It's the bones, and here's one that often gets overlooked for some reason. And there's a lot of these in San Diego, whether you're in a condo or in a house. I have an escrow open right now, and I asked there's an HOA.
Yep.
So I asked the agent, what does the HOA cover?
So,
Crickets.
Didn't know. No, not a clue. Not a clue what the
I know.
HOA covered.
I know.
these
And
are
look,
simple FAQs that should be known.
as a listing agent with the Nunn Realty Group here at EXP, agents are required to do a personal home assessment, and that involves filling out the AVID before it goes into MLS. It involves getting the transfer disclosure statement filled out. That's about 3 or 4 pages. The seller property questionnaire, and these are all required forms in a California real estate transaction. And we get all that filled out, and we get the property profile from our great friends at Equity Title. Why do we do that? Well, we want to make sure that we are dealing with all the recorded owners. There are times where, agents go out, they meet with somebody, they think they're the owner, and they might be, but there might be other owners that don't know what this one owner or brother or sister is trying to do. And you spend an awful lot of time it's wasted.
Yeah, case in point. I just was calling on expired land, and I uncovered a piece of land in Carlsbad where the owners are in North Carolina, and the owners, somebody came and fraudulently represented that they were the owners of the property, and a San Diego wholesaling agent did not do her due diligence on the sellers, and she listed the property
With the wrong owner.
with the wrong owners.
Well, not the wrong owner, a non-owner.
A non-owner, and the owners found out about it and actually had to fly out here from North Carolina.
Jesus.
That guy's a genius. That's a business you need to get into.
No kidding.
Shame on the agent for not checking.
The thing is, we have work to do. It's the value that we add as listing agents at EXP Realty and the Nunn Group. It's the value that we add. Why get into a transaction where there's items that are deficient in the home, only to leave it to chance that the buyer's inspector will catch them all, will find them all, and here's one thing.
Inspectors are people too.
They are people too, and here's the thing I tell every seller. For every repair that you can do for 50 or $100, will probably save you $1,000 in the dreaded second round of renegotiations, which is a request for repair after the home inspection. All right. Buyers are going to get a list from the inspector of the things that are wrong or deficient with the home, and the buyers are going to look at it. If there's 10 items, they're going to go, wow, there's a lot wrong with this house.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to cost, how much? They're talking to their uncle, they're talking to their brother, they're talking to their sister, they're talking to the hairdresser. Oh, that'll cost you 50 grand. I had a friend, and all the war stories start. So all of a sudden you get your request for repair, and it's $25,000 or $50,000. Well, I'll guarantee you this. If the seller had the home inspected, and this is key, get your sellers to get the home inspected before it goes into MLS. Take a look, get an ASHI certified home inspector, folks, an American Society of Home Inspectors. Don't get Uncle Joe with the tool belt and the flashlight, because that ain't gonna work. All right, I've had that done. I actually had a guy who was a big time back surgeon back in Minneapolis, and it was a $400,000 house. Now that doesn't seem like much, but think of 1982. Okay,
Minnesota.
this was an 8,000 square foot house in the Dewey Hill area, and I said, Dr. Ross, let's get the home inspected. He goes, oh no, he goes, I got a buddy of mine that's built some houses. He'll take a look at it. I'm gonna advise you against that, but I'd rather see you get an ASHI certified home inspector. He goes, no, this will be fine. And his wife looked at him and said, you sure? He goes, yeah, honey, that's fine.
Well, this is what we've said before we even get to the punchline here. We've said it on the show before that quality service is expensive and poor service is really expensive.
Really expensive, and that's what happened here. Because 3 months after closing, I get a phone call from the wife. And she said, Jeff, we got a real problem with the house. I go, ooh, tell me what is up. She goes, the whole roof was rotted in a certain spot. It's got to be replaced. It's going to cost about $15,000.
Cha-ching.
And I said, I wish there was something we could do. However, she goes, I knew what you're going to say. And she goes, you're right. I just want to let you know if there's anything. I said, look, I don't think there is anything we could do, because she did have the home inspected, but he wasn't competent, he wasn't qualified, so on and so forth. So lesson learned there. So get the home inspected before it goes on the market. Sit down with your sellers and the inspector with the SPQ, the TDS, and AVID, and make sure they're covering those items from the seller remembers. Like, oh yes, I forgot we had a flood in our house 4 years ago, we had some old blah, blah, blah. And here's why. Because you can have that, you can get that stuff fixed. We've got plenty of handymen that are excellent, that can fix this stuff inexpensively. Get this stuff done. Have the inspector come back out that originally inspected the home. Have them re-inspect those items, take it off, print a new report that's a lot cleaner. Yeah. And you can do that work, an outlet costs $4 to replace, $10 to replace. But as you know, you see an inspection report with about 30 items on it, and you're gonna go, holy crap.
Well, it creates fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the mind of the buyer.
It creates all that, and that's where we get into problem with, the request for repair is way too high. A buyer could ask for $50,000, the seller could probably fix most of that stuff for $5,000. That's been my experience. So, how will your home be judged by the buyers when it hits the market as compared to your competition? That's critical. We're gonna get your home as close to a certified pre-owned home as possible. We can't put a sticker on it, and we can't put warranties behind it, but here's what you're gonna get. You'll be able to provide the buyer of the home with the home inspection before they even look at the house. Mm-hmm. Why is that important? Some people are totally adverse to mold. If a house has ever had mold, they will not touch it. Why find that out a week after you've gone into escrow? All right, get it remedied, have it certified, have it re-inspected, be able to present to the buyer the home inspection report. Now,
and it's important to remember that when you're a seller in this situation, we've talked about this before, but if we're talking about a primary residence, your primary residence is don't think of your house as an investment tool. Your house is your house.
Right.
That's where you live. That's where you do your family stuff. Your house is your home, right?
Yeah.
But once we decide to make that stuff and we're going to sell it, now we need to start thinking of it as a business transaction.
Right.
If you're the seller, you need to, as best you can, distance yourself a little bit from the house and start thinking about it like a business.
It's a commodity, it's a product at that point in time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of it is.
Don't get offended by someone saying this is broken or
right.
And going through these steps helps stop that.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you a really sad story, and it did happen. It was back in Minnesota. Did you know it gets cold in the winter times there?
I haven't heard.
And you can have temperature swings, from 30 below to 70 above, and houses are going to expand and contract the different components of a home, like the concrete, the drywall, the 2x4s, the tiles, and ceramics, and all kind of stuff are going to expand and contract at different temperatures. We had a guy, it was up near the Brainerd area of, I believe, central Minnesota, and the home was inspected, and they tagged the furnace because it had a crack, a little hairline crack in the heat exchanger. Now what that means is death. Carbon monoxide will leak out, it will silently kill the occupants of the home.
Yes.
So we had a furnace tag. The owner didn't believe us. Said, nah, my furnace is fine, no problem. We said, sir, you gotta get it fixed, it's been tagged. Nope. A week later, there was headline news in Brainerd, family of 5 died of carbon monoxide.
Wow.
True story.
No way.
And it's sad, but check and some of this stuff we tell our sellers to do is really for their own good. Fix it now versus paying a lot more to fix it later. And we have been able to uncover some serious deficiencies in a home that have literally saved people's lives, because furnaces do get cracked heat exchangers, and that will kill you. So how will your home be judged by the buyers when it hits the market? We're going to take a look at the structural, mechanical, the health and safety, and the cosmetic appeal and staging. And as an agent, I'm going to highly recommend to you, come on board with us, we'll teach you all this stuff. But make sure you take construction classes, make sure you take inspection classes, make sure you use the right inspectors, properly assess the home so you know how to price it. We all want to get the most money for our sellers, and a certified pre-owned car sold for significantly more than Uncle Ed's used car lot on the corner that used to be a gas station. You all remember that if you're my age, right? They take the tanks out, if they did take the tanks out, and they'd sell cars on the corner. But we're not seeing many of those anymore. So the personal home assessment is the critical first step that can save your sellers a lot of money. And if the buyer doesn't want and believe in the seller's paid for inspection, they they got it rigged. You know what? That's fine. You can do your home inspection. We're not going to stop you.
Exactly.
We're going to give you an option, buyer. You can take this inspection. You can rip it apart. You can take a look at everything. We've got all the receipts, and you can accept it and submit your offer without a physical inspection contingency or not. Do your own inspection, but I'll guarantee you this, if you follow my process, I will be there when the buyer brings their inspector out, and I'm going to hand the home inspection that we just did from an ASHI certified home inspector to the buyer's inspector.
And keep in mind that, regardless of who hires a home inspector is a third party. All right, they have just because they were hired by the seller, for example. Let's say you're the buyer.
Right.
Just because they're hired by the seller, for example,
They're Switzerland.
doesn't mean that they have to play ball with the seller. Their job is to inspect the home, regardless of who's paying them. Right. So they're not on your side or the other side.
Exactly.
Their job is to find every
Their job is to find what's wrong with the house.
And
That's
believe
their
me,
job.
if they're like, every inspector has to be up on the codes and what's right, what's wrong, and there's always some discrepancies there, but at least the other inspector has been paid for by the buyer. I'm going to give them that inspection report and say, look, this is what we found, this is what we did, it's all been fixed, knock yourself out. Wink, wink, we're not going to let them pull anything over on us. They're going, oh, wow, you got these problems here. Well, prove to me we do, because this report says we don't.
Yeah, right.
Now, when you can do that stuff ahead of time, you're going to have maybe a 5% chance of cancellation. You'll get thousands more for your home. It'll be a cleaner transaction. And top it off by putting a home warranty on it. Pay for a home warranty for the buyer for the first year. In case something does break, they'll pay a trip charge. So putting a house on the market is an injustice to your sellers. Frankly, this should be a law. In my opinion, you should have your home inspected before it goes on the market. Get the stuff fixed. Alleviate the second, third rounds of renegotiation from the request for repair. Cancellation rates are going to drop significantly, and you're going to have a really, really, really happy seller.
There you go.
And that's step one. The
That's
agent
all that's
visual
step
inspection,
one. Here we go.
transfer disclosure, seller property questionnaire, get the property profile from equity title, because you'll see lot lines, you'll see easements, you'll see encroachments, you'll see liens against the property, you'll see all sorts of stuff that could prevent it from closing. If you don't find this stuff out till after you open escrow. Yes, you have, 3 days to get these documents to the buyer after you open escrow, but why do that?
Right.
Get it to them up front, see if they want to buy the house.
Yeah.
Some people I know, I had a home where we discovered, there was a fire in the home 7 years ago. Funny we mentioned that. Got a fireman right here.
There you go.
But when you see things like darkened wood, charred, little cracks in it, you know that's the problem. And it could have been discovered ahead of time in this particular case. It easily could have been, but the buyer they were so adverse. And my comment to the buyer was, I'd buy the house. I said, why? When have you ever heard of the same house burning down twice?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you got one freebie there.
Yeah, you know what happens when a house catches fire? They scrape it and rebuild it.
Yeah. Hey, that's a new marketing technique.
Yeah,
My old
exactly.
company in Minnesota was called Burnett Realty, B-U-R-N-E-T. Ralph Burnett was his name. Rest in peace, Ralph. He just passed away a few weeks ago. Great guy, but we actually did a national advertising campaign. If we can't sell your house, we'll burn it. True story. It was on TV. We can't sell your house, we'll burn it.
Oh, no.
So if you can't sell your house, Nunn Realty Group can. Give us a buzz, 858-602-8880 or
858-245-8813.
or
619-806-6593.
pick the prettiest agent you see.
That's right.
If you're watching it.
it.
It's not me. You're so tall. You're Swedish, aren't you?
I know.
You are. You're a tall, good-looking Swede. So anyway, that is my tip for today. Step one, what do we have here? Tell me all about your house. Give me all the information you possibly can. Let me vet through it. We'll get an inspector out here if you're open to that. You know, we'll get these items fixed. Let's get it certified as a pre-owned home and get it on the market. What do you think?
I think it's great, and I would actually take it to the next level
Tell me.
by adding in an FAQ from the seller, okay? And in that, we're gonna tell the buyers who our cable company is that we utilize, what our typical energy bills are looking like across the board.
Perfect.
We're gonna tell them the age of certain things. We're gonna, you know,
Yep.
just all the little mechanics, all the questions that
Yep.
a buyer is gonna have walking in. They're staying at an 8,000 square foot house maybe, all right?
We have a responsibility.
cost?
I mean, we're salespeople. We're selling a commodity. We're selling a product. We have to know about it. So as an agent, when you're doing your AVID, you look for things. You don't open doors and that, but you look for cracks. What's a crack? Well, if you can put a nickel sideways into the crack, that's something that needs to be further investigated. If it's less than that, it's probably just a surface crack and possibly not that serious. But look for any shifting. Look at doors. Are they square in the door frame? That's one thing you'll know if a house is shifting. Any settling. Foundation issues, walk the floors, pay attention. You know, we had a living room here in La Jolla where there was a 3-inch dip from one end of the living room to the other. It was about 18 feet, dropped 3 inches. We didn't catch it right away. The roof, windows and doors, walls, termites, pests, all that kind of stuff. HVAC, solar, is it owned, is it leased, is it paid in full, is it transferable? Do you have plumbing, pool, spa, sprinkler, irrigation, water features, electronic smart systems, and flat screens in the house, appliances? And remember the homeowner warranty, which I'm a firm believer in, get one. Health and safety issues, asbestos, gas leaks, ground fault interrupters, carbon monoxide detectors, smoke detectors, mold, cosmetic appeal, paint the damn house, get the carpet clean. I can't believe people, they put their house on the market when, you know, for 15, 20 bucks for a gallon of paint, they could have painted the room from pink to neutral. Declutter, staging, landscaping, curb appeal. People aren't gonna drive up if they see a bunch of dents in a car and dirt on the windshield and whatnot. You know, it's gonna turn them off right away.
These are easy fixes.
Yep. And then after we do that, we figure, okay, how much you wanna spend? If you don't wanna spend any money fixing up your house, that's okay. Nobody's gonna make you, and we won't make you, but then you just have to adjust your price and adjust your expectations of what is likely to happen. You know, then we're really gonna be in for that dreaded round of renegotiation. And I'll close with this. I had an agent that we knew in our marketplace was notorious for telling his buyers, oh, we'll pay this, but we'll hit them hard on the request for repair. We'll get $100,000, $200,000 back, blah, blah, blah. And he had a history of this. And so when offers would come in from this particular agent, we would tell the sellers, look, this is what the history is here, and I'm going to recommend you put in here that the buyer's inspection is done for informational purposes only, and as a result of the home inspection, buyer agrees to make no request for repairs, cash concessions, or a lower sales price. Okay, so they can still inspect the home. They can find out what's wrong with it, and they can pay for it themselves, or they can cancel.
Right.
Because in this particular case, the request for repair came in, even though they were not allowed to have one. They wrote one anyway, and they wanted $300,000.
Oh my gosh.
You know why? oh, the roof from Italy, the tiles are too heavy, the walls of the house won't support the roof. And I said,
Is that so?
if that isn't the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard, the roof's been on for 35 years, there's no bowing in the walls, the house is fine, it's a $4 million house, it doesn't matter, the house is fine, there's no roof problem, there's no structural problem. Oh yeah, there is, okay, how about $100 grand? You're not gonna get a damn dime.
Yeah.
Read your contract, and
I'll
that's,
take whatever.
yeah, so
Oh,
stay
wow.
tuned, we'll have more on step 2 in a future edition here, and that will be, how do we price a home, and what is a financial x-ray of the market when it comes to real estate, because I will tell you right now, the numbers you pull out from MLS, when you do a CMA, are incorrect.
Deceiving.
I will tell you that right now, tune into the next show, find out why.
That's good
Exactly.
stuff.
It's good stuff.
Hey, thanks.
Let's move on to kind of something on the seller side, something on the buyer side, really quick here before we get to our market update for the day. So one of the questions that people, especially with the house prices rising so rapidly, pretty much everywhere these days, inflation, blah, blah, blah. You can point the finger at whoever you like for that, but more importantly, let's talk about how it affects you here. So one of the things that people ask me, especially first-time buyers, is how do I come up with a down payment?
Right.
Down payment is the biggest single identified hurdle in purchasing a home. So everyone always thinks that they need 20%. Now 20%, let's say you're buying a house for what median home price last time we checked was like $987, something in that range.
Yeah,
We'll find out in a few minutes here.
Just under $1 million.
Yeah, just under a million. We'll just call it $1 million. 20% of $1 million is a lot of
It
freaking
is.
money.
It
We're
is.
talking about 200 grand here.
Well, there's a solution that the government has that they won't do anything with, and that is government financing, FHA. You can buy a house, FHA, Federal Housing Administration, for 3.5% down.
Yes.
But their loan limits in our marketplace don't come close to allowing you to buy anything.
What you need.
So, if we had $1.5 million or $2 million loan limit for FHA, we'd be fine. Then people could put 3.5% down. They'll pay mortgage insurance, of course, but here's another little trick. When you do that, you're gonna pay mortgage insurance premium, which can be a little bit spendy,
Yeah.
but that ensures that because there's no equity in the home to speak of, 3.5%, if the bank takes it back, they gotta put it on the market, they got fix-up costs, they got selling costs, so on and so forth, they're gonna be upside down.
Primary mortgage insurance, folks, if you're curious, is essentially an insurance policy that the bank has that you pay for
Yep.
on a property that there's essentially no equity in.
Right.
So you're paying the bank to assume the risk of the loan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you just wait for the home value naturally to appreciate,
Right? That's part of it.
okay, and you get that gap to 20%. Now remember, you put 3.5% down. At 20%, they don't charge mortgage insurance premium, so you
With a conventional loan.
with a conventional loan. So when that delta becomes 20%, you can actually call the lender and say,
Yes.
hey, appraise my property. It might only be 2 years after you bought the
Oh,
home.
these days.
Yeah, or maybe a year.
6
Get it
months, 6 months
reappraised,
later, you should be good.
prove that you have 20% equity, and they'll drop the PMI.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, it's about 17 years, I think, before you're gonna have that delta of 20%, if you just naturally let it go.
Yeah.
So if you just wait until that value that you paid for it and your loan gets paid down without taking into consideration any appreciation of the home to help reduce that delta, you're gonna be paying money you shouldn't have to be.
And so so I guess the short answer here of this main question that we see all the time is, do I need 20% down? It would be nice, but no, you do not. You do not need 20% down. We can get you into a house for much, much less than that. So the feasibility of that upfront cost. Now, of course, you'll have closing costs on top of that out of pocket.
Sure.
But the upfront feasibility cost is much more affordable than a lot of people think it is.
Well, and then there's, these 10-10-80 loans where you put 10% down, you can get a second mortgage for 10 to go with the 80% on the first, so you're actually financing 90% of it. But give us a call. There's thousands of financing options out there. We have access to every single one of them, right, Cody?
That is correct.
Right, yes,
Correct.
we do.
That is correct.
So give us a call for financing. thinking, we can get it done for you.
Let's just flip gears to the other side of the transaction really quick here before we get into our market update for the day. So the other side of the transaction that people are often concerned with, especially here in San Diego with home prices being so high, people having so much equity, is how do we avoid as best we can capital gains? Now you're not going to avoid all of capital gains for the most part, but
We're gonna mitigate the risk.
there are mitigation techniques in place here. So that being said, if you're a single person, you sell a property, you are exempt from capital gains up to 250 grand. If you could just say 250 grand a person. If you're a couple, you're exempt from up to 500,000 in appreciated gained value on the sale of that property. So that being said, if you make more than 500 grand, let's say you're married, what are some good options to shield yourself from some of those harsh tax penalties, as we call them? Because as far as I'm concerned, a tax penalty.
Oh, yeah.
Any tax is a penalty.
Congratulations for owning your house. Here's
Well, look,
Yeah, exactly. Give us our cut.
You know,
Thank you
and
very
the
much.
capital gains comes in if they sell their home and they don't buy something else. In other words, they don't take their proceeds and roll it into another property. That will defer those capital gains.
And what is that called? That's called 1031, right?
No, it's just like I'm Joe homeowner and I'm taking my primary residence and I'm selling it and I'm gonna buy another property, so I roll the equity from my first home into my second
I
home.
see what you're saying.
Okay, so I'm just rolling it over. And the 1031 comes in where you have an investment property
That's right.
and you wanna take your investment proceeds and if you just don't buy anything, you're gonna get taxed right then and there on it, on a short-term or long-term capital gain basis. But if you reinvest it within, what was it, 6 months?
I think it's 6 months.
6 months
For
into another property, we can help you hire a 1031 facilitator to get it done, and then you don't pay any capital gains because you rolled it into another investment property, and not until you dispose of that would you be subject to any capital gains, and again, only if you don't reinvest it again.
Exactly. And a good thing to remember too is your tax rate on your capital gains can vary. So any investment, real estate or otherwise, that you've held for longer than a year is going to be taxed at 20%. If you've held it for shorter than a year, if you're a flipper or something like that, you're going to be taxed at whatever your tax bracket is. You're adjusted.
And we do have a good group of professionals that we work with that specialize in this with other products that you can roll into. Give us a call. We'd be happy to make introductions.
And Cody's touched on some of these products in earlier episodes, so go back and check out, I think it's episode 2.
The opportunity zones?
We talked about some other tax and advantages that Cody's very savvy in. And with that being said, Cody is also very savvy in our market update for the day. Cody, what do you got for us?
You want numbers?
He's so
Let's
fatty.
hear some numbers.
We got numbers.
You're so fatty.
All right. Do you think inventory is up over 2023?
Yes.
All right. Look,
Here we go with yes.
I got one crack.
All right.
Hey, we
So-
can do like they do, you know, like we could
turn this into Jeopardy.
give us points for right answers. I got
We have
1
to
point.
answer
Market update
You have
Jeopardy.
to answer in the form of a question.
Yeah,
All right.
Is that
So
Jeopardy that has to do that?
yeah.
Okay.
active inventory is increased in the past 2 weeks. It's up over 6%.
Wow.
186 homes.
We're making progress.
It now stands at 3,388 houses. I'm going to make this quick today, but we've got market times under 1 million are increasing. Days on market are increasing. 1.5 and up, going up towards 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. Those are actually coming down,
Really?
decreasing in time.
Really?
Yes, which is interesting.
Well, I read in a lot of those more kind of luxury or premium properties, a lot of those deals are cash.
Yeah.
You know, it seems that the trend that we're seeing is the higher the value of the property, the more likely it is to be a cash buyer.
Homes over 2 million account for 22% of the inventory.
Wow.
Homes over
Okay.
2 million.
And 11% of the demand.
Hmm.
Interesting, isn't it?
Mhm.
This is the numbers coming out as of April. So April of this year, there was in San Diego County, there was 2,095 closed residential sales. That was in April, and that is 6% more than April of 2023, where there was 1,969 closed
Wow.
sales. Interesting, isn't it?
So the market is moving.
It
The
is.
market is moving.
Yeah, regardless of the interest rate, which we talked about last episode.
Right.
So regardless of that, people are doing what they have to do to get in. So.
Yep. Southern California housing report taking the counties, Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego, and Ventura. San Diego still stands in the number 4 spot.
Really?
Last week when we discussed this, they were in the 4 spot. Los Angeles just seems to really be pumping it with current active market properties.
Everybody wants to get out of LA.
9,256.
If I can't
Is this
get
a-
off of that LA
They're also a
freeway.
lot bigger county than we are. But
Sure.
that's for sure, but yeah,
But
we'll
that
pick
is-
on LA, that's okay.
That is good. Riverside County is at number 2 with 5,597.
Everyone wants out of Riverside.
Yep.
You ever heard of Jerry Jeff Walker?
Who?
Jerry Jeff Walker,
I'm
the
sorry.
musician?
No.
He has a great song. See if you can pull it up. If I can't get off of that LA freeway without getting killed or caught.
Yeah.
It's
So
true.
the San Diego housing market, that was a brief summary of it today. Inventory's on the rise.
Down the road in a puff of smoke.
That's good for you buyers.
That's good for the buyers, bad for the sellers.
It's bad for the sellers, I suppose, but
Uh,
California in general, we just talked about, still has the most housing shortage alone. Has more housing shortage than the other 9 states in the top 10 combined, which is,
Wow.
I don't know.
And you
Give us
know,
all
on
that
previous
information.
episodes, we were discussing the massive sales and price decrease in the advertised price of the commercial buildings versus what they're selling for.
Commercials.
Yes, across the nation right now, it is amazing to watch this.
Yeah.
It's like Braveheart. It's a bloodbath. It's just a bloodbath for commercial real estate.
Braveheart. Oh my gosh, that's a great movie. Though.
It was.
Oh, one of the best. One of the best.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time listening today. I hope you enjoyed and got some value out of the show, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks,
ya.
folks.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.